moving abroad, like totally changed my perspective on that outlook. And like, I can't do that. You need to learn, you need to adapt, you need to understand responsibilities, mistakes, like kindness, like be whatever. So I would say definitely like it shapes you, because you have to learn how to be by yourself and shape yourself into the human that you want to be. So yeah, definitely. It was like getting on a plane made me a different man now today, for sure.
Hi everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Trauma, Training and Transformation, where we explore how movement heals the mind. Each week we try and bring conversations with athletes, coaches, researchers, practitioners and everyday people whose experiences demonstrate how challenge, adversity and movement can shape not only performance, but who become as individuals. Today's guest is an incredible individual. It's Elliott Ryan, an Irish rugby player currently playing professional rugby in Portugal with Benfica. Elliott's journey has taken him far beyond the familiar comforts of home in pursuit of growth, opportunity and his rugby ambitions. But this conversation today is not just about rugby, it's also about courage, identity and what it takes when taking risks. It's also about stepping outside your comfort zone. I know this can change the course of your life. Elliott, thank you and great to have you on board today. Please, for the benefit of our audience, please introduce yourself.
Thank you very much. My name is Elliott Ryan. I'm from Bray, County Wicklow, Ireland. I've been playing rugby since I've been a baby, since 6 years of age or even younger. And I have travelled 4 different countries to keep the rugby dream alive. And yeah, I've played for the likes of Greystones RFC, my school Pres Bray, Trinity College, 1 month in all Wesley, and Leinster and Ireland system. So yeah, that's me.
Appreciate you sharing that, Elliott. Before you decided to move abroad and experience both life outside of Ireland and the rugby aspect, who was Elliott Ryan before being a player? So what was your ambitions as a person? Way beyond the stage of life that you're at now?
Ambitious as a person was kind of similar as I am now, if I'm honest with you. I was very sports driven when I was a kid. I was high active, high maintenance in the sports environment. I think from a young age, I was playing sports every single weekend. I was driving my mom insane. I was trying to play golf even when I was a kid. So I always had a sports interest, I would say. And so my ambition was to go into sports. And as a young kid, everyone always dreams of playing football. So I remember playing at such a young age. It was like I wanted to be a professional footballer and be the next Ronaldo, etc., etc. Like that was it. The more I think about it, and then my dad introduced me into rugby, and then it just stuck, rugby. So I was very sports driven. Like I would literally play every single sport possible. Some to get out of school as well. So I did athletics, hurling, GAA, golf, swimming if I could. Yeah, football, rugby, even tried basketball, anything with a ball, to be honest with you. That's what I was always renowned for when I was a kid growing up. So yeah.
Ireland's got a rich heritage when it comes to sport. You mentioned there about GAA, all Ireland sports, culture, hurling, stuff like that. And then you've got the rugby side, where rugby now is high on the agenda to get to the World Cup and be successful at that. And just recently, we hear that Andy Farrell signed a new long-term extension, which is great for the team, but also the country at large. But growing up as a rugby person, was there anyone who stood out as a role model, someone that you wanted to aspire to be?
I would say, looking back, it would definitely be that era of Peter Stringer and Ronan O'Gara, and the battles between them and Leinster. And obviously you had O'Driscoll and Darcy, and Sexton was just coming on the scenes then, I remember. So back then I remember like most kids would remember the bald guy, which was Peter Stringer. So I would say he's definitely up there. And then looking at a bit of Johnny Wilkinson and the speed of like Jason Robinson. So I kind of had a weird generation now. There's no like Antoine Dupont, etc. So his Antoine Dupont would probably be our Brian O'Driscoll. So, but I remember just always watching Peter Stringer, like him and Ronald O'Gara down in Munster. So definitely would say like watching him was the start, and then it moved on towards Aaron Smith. And then I think I followed Aaron Smith more the whole way. Like he was just the pinnacle of a scrum half, if anyone's really watching. But I would definitely say growing up was Ronald O'Gara and Peter Stringer, the bald scrum half.
I'm assuming that you base some of your style and your playing philosophy around them. But what was development like as a rugby player growing up?
Development was it was much easier when you played other sports. I think that's where the connection of like GAA and hurling and golf comes into it. Like a lot of rugby players, even now growing up, would always play some sort of ball or even tennis. So I remember like every Sunday morning I would be down in Greystones and there was always like hundreds of kids. It was just rugby's such a easy thing to join over in Ireland. There's so many clubs, there's so many communities with it. So I would say it was really easy to grow up with it when you had the other side of sports, and then you had so many kids already involved. Like you already had your friends, your neighbors all going. So it was pretty easy growing up, and I had a lot of like parents around always that were in rugby as well. So they grew up with it. They did it in schools, they did it in that club. So they'd always be around. So there was always a lot of rugby knowledge around the time when I was growing up as a kid. So it was pretty easy, I would say, like in that aspect, because I always had like parents around, and then you'd be training and you'd be doing something. So involved in rugby. So that's what I would say. Like my childhood would be just easily influenced by just going to so many trainings and like adults always around, parents and kids, because you turn up on the training session and you know there's going to be like 20 to 30 kids and you're just running around getting involved with a ball. So it was pretty easy.
Ireland being, as I said before, a quite rich country full of sport and heritage. It must have been a point in your own development, both as a rugby player and as a person, that you realised you needed more. So what was that moment you realised that staying where you were might not help you to achieve the goals that you future may want, or what you ultimately wanted to achieve? So you needed to leave home.
Yeah, I had a like decision before that. It was like I had to pick football or rugby, and I chose rugby. And then I would say throughout my career, and then when things weren't going right, and then I realized that I wasn't gonna be able to stay at the highest standard I wanted, and I was very down about it and upset, and I was very like, I would say childish at the time, saying like, of course they're not picking me, blah, blah, blah. I was coming up with excuses, but it wasn't really the case after I like had to think about it. I was like, well, I can sulk and whine, but there has to be more opportunities out there for me. You know, I always thought Leinster was the be all end all, and a lot of people have that mindset, and of course they are without a doubt the best club in the world. Like, I think personally, I was just like, well, I can sit here and sulk, or I have to go and look for other opportunities. I believe that like being in a system for such a young age, that you can use these skills and you have to be able to like transfer them somewhere else. So like someone wants them, you know, that was kind of the way I was looking at it. And I just ultimately wanted to play rugby professionally, no matter the standard or the level. Like I just was so ready for rugby. That's what I wanted. Like I knew what I wanted to do, I would say. And I knew it wasn't going to happen in Ireland. Like I didn't want to face the fact. I was like a bit stubborn. I was trying other things. And I had one more good year outside of school. I was in Trinity. Tony Smeeth was phenomenal. But I just knew, okay, like it's come to the end. You're not in the system. You're out of the system. But don't let the skills go to waste, you know, like the knowledge. And I think that's where a lot of people get sucked into it in Ireland. And that's fair enough because it's so competitive there. So that's why I would say it was just like I knew there was an opportunity out there.
Many people look at this, go on gap years, travel around the world, or want to move and try something new. But the opportunities are there to travel overseas. But do you actually think about the risks before you do it? And if you do, what barriers did you face in that decision?
The problem was I didn't face too many barriers. I kind of just had that sense of just, I wanted to obviously stay with my family. Like my mom and my nan are very important people to me. And it was like, and I obviously have a big family. So, but those two characters were important to me, and my dad as well. But it was like, I didn't have any more risk. Like I didn't have a lot of risks anymore. Like that's the dangerous thing, is like there was nothing to risk. I wasn't doing anything I wanted to do for me. I was just doing what is the normal thing when you're like out of rugby. You don't make it professional. You're try and go to a college degree that I'm not the best in school. I wasn't the brightest, like I wasn't academically. So I was just doing something for the sake of just doing it for what you're meant to do and go get a job, etc. And then I was doing a job that I was like, so I was actually in a room. I was actually no risk, you know, like I actually had no risk. So, which was pretty, I would say, weird, but also great, because means I just was able to say, right, I'm going for it, because I actually had no risk because I lost everything. So I was just sitting there and I was just like, well, I actually have nothing more to lose. The only thing I have to really lose is my family and obviously my friends and stuff. But like they're never far with technology. You can call them anytime you want to see them. So the risk wasn't the reward was more than the risk, I would say. That's how I was looking at it.
In the process of leaving Ireland, was any uncertainties of the destination or what the outside world would look like, especially an Irish guy leaving home for the first time and wanting to seek that opportunity to be a professional rugby player? Was anything there to fear?
Don't know. It's a bit of a blur because I left home when I was 19, and this comes back to the conversation, the man. It was Dr. John Gillis. And I guess what gave me comfort was my cousin was over there already in Canada. So that was a comfort there. But then it kind of just gave me he gave me the comfort to want to travel. So then I was like, okay, I got the message from Gillis and it said like, are you Elliott Ryan, are you there? And I said, yeah. And then I was just like, I didn't really have a fear. None of that was in my mind. I think I was just in such I want to leave moment, or I want to jump for it. I just was in such a position that I didn't really think about risks or fear or like what was going on the other side of the world. Like that didn't really come into my mind when I was flying over into Halifax, Nova Scotia, and I lost my bag on the first time I arrived, and I was still there at the clerk, like they were like, can you describe my bag? But none of that was really in my brain at the time. I think it was just more like, I'm just so happy to like try something new. So I was just there, and then I remember the car pulling up and it was a huge GMC that was like bigger than me, and I had to jump into the car, and I was going to this stranger's house, and it was in the middle of the night. So I didn't know what I was going to wake up to in the morning. And the more I thought about it now, like last night or whatever, it was just like, I didn't really have a fear. I didn't really feel the risk. I don't know why. At the time, it's just like, I think I just had nothing more to lose. It was more like I was losing my family, but only in the word terms of like the feelings. I wasn't actually losing my family because I knew they were always there. I knew they were at home. So yeah, it's a bit strange. I was really thinking about it. I just didn't have the fear. I didn't have I just jumped. I was like, yeah, I'm going to go.
And that's great. I'm glad you took that jump going from Ireland to Nova Scotia. I mean, Dr. John Gillis is an incredible individual, like Marmite for those who never love him or you hate him. But the amount of work behind the scenes he does on the rugby front, both for privateers, Rugby Nova Scotia, but the rugby community at large, it goes without saying, he deserves a lot of credit. And people who have experienced rugby in Nova Scotia can only have, positive things to say about the individual, because he's driving rugby to a level that Nova Scotia is on the map, not just in Canada, but across the world, because people are interested in traveling there. But touch a little bit on your experience with rugby in Nova Scotia, both on the field and off the field. What was it like for the young Elliott Ryan?
I was a bit of a menace, like a young 19-year-old. Or I think I was 19 or whatever, and I went all the way over to North America, Canada, Nova Scotia, Halifax. It's a little town on the Maritime, and it's absolutely beautiful. It's a wonderful little spot. And yeah, as you say about Gillis was the one that really, the more I thought it was the one that gave me this opportunity, now where I kind of am. So I do owe a lot to him in a weird way, even 5-6 years on, he's still such a big part of who I am as well, because I still stay in contact with him. So I kind of got very lucky there with my contact being John Gillis. He was a big, massive rugby fan and community over there. In terms of the rugby community over there, it's really fun. It's very small. It's a niche little thing, but everybody knows everybody over there. So you can be comfortable, you can settle. And they make you very welcome over there. Canadians are very, very nice. They are very, very nice. So when I arrived in, I met the squad I remember I arrived in on a Tuesday night, and I wasn't meeting any of the team until the Thursday. And now I'm young. I'm a young guy. And I remember the youngest person next to me, there was Otto. But after that was 26 or something, 20, a lot older than me. So I went from being with people my age to all of a sudden being shot up to a bigger older community, because there's a lot more older people there that stay on and keep playing, and it ended up working out for me. So I remember they had a res club, they didn't have a rugby club. There's still no rugby club. I think Halifax Tars is still the only one with an official, the first rugby club, but they only got that there in recent times. So they used all these little bars as their clubhouse, we'll say. So it's kind of bizarre. like you go and train. I remember training in a military base. It was like train there, and then they'd all meet back at the clubhouse. And I was like, well, where is the clubhouse? Like, the clubhouse is meant to be beside the field, as you know. And they're like, no, no, no. So they would train and play and then drive like 5-10 minutes down to get into their clubhouse to just sit there, and then they would have like a pint afterwards. So that was very mind boggling to me, but they have a really good community because it is very small, so you can get comfort out of it. So, and everyone knows everybody. So yeah, it's a fun little town to play rugby, I would say. I think it's getting more popular and popular there. So it's really nice to see. But since I've been there, it has really grown, like with HRFC as well, and the Valley and Enfield, etc. So, and the PEI boys all out there, Charlottetown. So they're doing really well for such a little niche community. So, but it was just the mind-boggling thing was like no clubhouses. That's what really like stood out to me. I always remember being over there. It was just no clubhouses to have like that atmosphere to create things, but they still did it in a pub. But that's what I remember when I first arrived.
Yes, Tars of the clubhouse on Graves. Field have just opened theirs. So yeah, it's a slow process, but these clubs, they're getting bigger and they're trying to expand to where they can have a clubhouse and be more substantial. I'm very fortunate. I've worked with you with the Celtics, and you're an incredible individual, but on the field, but equally off. Your personality, your charisma, your sense of humor is challenging off the field. Your drive and your willing to play what you see on the field is an inspiration for all the younger players playing in Nova Scotia. And I see that now with some of the players trying to replicate some of the skills, stuff that you brought there. So first of all, thank you for sharing your knowledge and your skills with the players in Nova Scotia, but also showing a little bit of the Irish humour. Keep it all down to earth. So you left Nova Scotia and you went up to somewhere different, and you arrived in Portugal. So what aspects of life and rugby were different from what you thought you expected to see?
Well, before that, James, I went Halifax. I went over there, and then I jumped back into Ireland because of, I think it was COVID might have interrupted it. And then I ended up getting a message on a random Tuesday night from a guy on Facebook saying, do you want to play rugby in Spain? So I ended up landing back in, doing a job that I wasn't really didn't really want to do it about. Got a random message from a man saying, do you want to play rugby in Spain? Said, yeah. Sent him my highlight reel, not really knowing who he is, CV. And then he messaged me, and then I flew out again on like 2 weeks later. Didn't tell anyone again, didn't tell my mom. Didn't tell anyone. Again, thinking back on it, I was like, there was no risk again for me. So it was just, I don't think I was really thinking. So until later on, I needed to get a little bit more guidance, but I just signed the contract, and then I went to Spain. So I did a season in Spain. So I went straight into Bilbao, in a little town in the middle of nowhere called Ordizia in the Basque country. So that's where I started before I came to Portugal. So it was a bit weird.
That must have been a bit of a culture shock then, going from the dizzy heights of Nova Scotia to a small village in Spain. What was that journey like?
That one really opened my mind on culture. Like, I just, like, Ireland, you know what, Ireland, very similar to England, like, there's not. And then you go into Basque country. So then I learned that, one, they speak their own language in Basque. They have their own region. They're not Spanish. And then you have the food culture side of things. Then you have the music. Then you have their culture is just so different. It's a lot more relaxing again. And it was just phenomenal. Like, so again, it was more, do I stay in my room, play PlayStation, be that type of rugby player, or do I just get out onto the seat and just like start wandering around and buying into their culture? So that one was more, settling in Spain kind of helped me even more to move around now in like Portugal. So it was kind of such an easier transfer because I did the year there. And it was phenomenal, like just learning culture. I think some people that I see, like when I was traveling and other players were traveling, is they didn't buy into the culture. They were like very stubborn. They wanted to, like, I think when you realize when you leave home, you got to remember you're going somewhere. Like, you're not bringing home with you. So it's like, you're going there, you need to learn their culture, or try at least, or like make a bit of an effort, even if it's terrible. So that was fun, trying to learn one Spanish, and then all the calls were in Basque. And I'm dyslexic, can barely speak English sometimes. So it's like, that game was mine. That was the hardest part, was like trying to transfer it, but at least I went for it. Like, I had to go for it. I wasn't afraid to go for anything or take a risk. So that was really, really fun. Like, just learning even like all about them, even the local players, who they are and stuff. So you have to really buy into their culture, or it's pointless doing all this traveling and you're not going to buy in. Does that make sense?
So that sense of maturity to go and make a decision like that. I know you mentioned there is no risk, but the potential risks are huge. Traveling alone into a foreign country in an area that you're unfamiliar with, to take that step is a great insight into your maturity and your sense of worth. Do you see that looking back?
The more I talk with some people, and like especially my mom was like mind blown that like I could just pack my stuff up and just hop on the plane and go. So I would say I wasn't really aware of it at the time. A little bit older now, I see the risks, but like at the time there wasn't any. So I don't really like, my advice to like the people is take the jump. Like honestly, the worst thing that happens is you can just buy a ticket and come home. But I wasn't really thinking about that stuff at the time. I was kind of thinking more like, I want to do this for me. I want to, like, I kind of had a chip on my shoulder. Like I wanted to move away. I wanted to be a rugby player. So I had that like chip on my shoulder, like to do it, to like, this is what I want to be. So there's maybe that's the element of why I was so focused and not really looking at the risks around me. And like, when you're looking at Spain, you're like, oh, it's Spain, it's sunny, it's hot, it's better than better than Ireland. So I seen more positive than negatives. I would just say, like, and then like it was always going to be a great story. Like, oh, I went to Spain, played rugby in Spain for a year, and like, I can always come back. So I don't know. Like the more you keep saying like the risk factor and the way you like break it down, it's like there was all those, but at the same time, it's like what's on the other side of the green, There's the grass always green. Like I wanted to jump the wall just to see what happened. Like I remember signing the contract on like a random night. Like it was absolutely nothing, like for pittance money. And I just said, nah, I want to do it. There was just, I don't know, the focus was just, I want to go and be a rugby player. So that's all I really had in my mind, especially like traveling as well to Canada. And I was like, okay, I have the travel bug. Like it was cool seeing like different cultures or one culture. And then I was like, well, I know Spain has tapas and it's hot and all this. So I was just like, I don't know. The more you say it, I just didn't see the risks at that moment. Like I really didn't.
Well, as a young person, you're quite naive to the world, aren't you? We're all the same. You just, for what's out there, you don't know. The fact that you had that confidence to take that leap is incredible, and hats off to you to do that. Now, you've been to Spain, you played rugby there, but what was the step up like when you moved to Portugal? Was it bigger? Was it rugby higher? Or was it just more of adapting to the culture, as you just mentioned?
No. To be honest with you, the rugby really caught me off guard in both countries, but more here in Portugal, I would say it suited to me. Whereas I find Spain was like very like contact, like a lot of contact. And then like here again, I was kind of like humbled. I was like, I'm coming from Ireland, like rugby, I'll be cocky and I'll be fine. Then I was like, no, because again, there's a lot of foreigner players and they bring the standard, and the Spanish boys were quality. So again, when I came to Portugal, I was a little bit humbled. I was like, okay, like let's see what happens. And I was quite surprised, like genuinely, I was quite surprised with the standard of rugby. It's not like it's not AIL, but it's close to it. Like it really is. Like I think the difference is the speed of the game. There's not a lot of like phases, so it's like 3 or 4. And you don't know what could happen. Does that make sense? So it was always the speed and the break of play that kind of suited me, because I wasn't a structured player. So it was like off the cuff stuff kind of a lot of the boys had. And like the contact is still tough and bigger, but it was more the speed and the like the flow of play that kind of surprised me. So I was caught off guard. Like there is a good couple of like rugby culture here as well, and they have standards. So like that's what I think drives it really, really well here, is like they all have standard, they all like want to play, and it's a very enclosed community. So it's strong here, believe it or not. So that's what really caught me off guard.
Did that challenge you then to exceed your own expectations? Did you have to improve your own willingness to drive, your skill set, or did you have to just adapt so then you could be more part of the team?
Yeah, it was really hard to do that at the start. Like I think a lot of guys would agree that I was a bit of an asshole at the start when I came in, because I didn't want to drop my standards. Yeah, I've always had that. Like you can always keep driving your standards, but adapt. Don't lower your level to match their level. It's like you keep yours, and then you try to adapt to the players that are around you. So at the start, that was very, very difficult because like I was young, I was a young buck, and like I wanted to impress, and I always have like a thing for winning. Like I always have a drive for winning. I don't care what it is. Like, so it was really, really hard when like local players weren't at the same standard as you, or they didn't really understand it. So like you're always kind of battling that, and then like especially with the coaching and stuff, like the effort, because you want to do better, but that's the standard they're at. So there was always a bit of like back and forth fighting. So it took me, I say, 2.5 years to adapt to it. Like, just you got to understand the players around you and like just evolve, and like that actually does mentally help your game as well. So you can see what's going on the field or in trainings, like if you need to help or not help. So, and if the guys want to buy in, you'll see them buying in, and if the guys don't, they just stay at their like standard and level, and you just have to be aware of that. So it was very, very weird because you're going like, it's very wavy in the training sessions, and then you don't know what can happen on a match. Sometimes you might have a bit of doubt on a player, but like he could be the only option. So you always had like in the back of your mind, okay, but you just had to accept that. And like if you held on to it too much, it was gonna backfire. So you just had to accept it. So it was very, very interesting. It kind of helped the brain more to learn how to adapt to what they're used to, like their IQ, their like standards. So, but you could easily get lost in that transition and just come here on a holiday. But I didn't really have that drive to want to be here on a holiday and lifestyle, because I wanted to do this as my life. Like, this is my life. So you had to be aware of like how you're going to keep your standard, but not be an absolute asshole. Sorry to. So, so there was a level of it, like be tough, but then learn how to transition off the field. So I think that was the biggest thing I learned, was like, I'll be me on the field, but off the field, like I'll be a human being. So yeah, it was very interesting having to adapt, like, and you really do got to adapt. Like, you have to understand that, like, I was a little bit late to it, but it stuck to me now, I guess I would say. So yeah.
I appreciate you sharing that. And I think often them lived experiences allow you to reflect back on what your journey's been. And almost every meaningful journey that we go on comes with some form of setback. So what have been some of your toughest challenges in Portugal, Spain, Nova Scotia that you've faced since moving abroad? But what experience has then also taught you to be more resilient and perseverance through challenges?
The biggest one I can really come back to is I've always had an issue with my right quad and kicking. And I remember in my first season here, it was like I tore my quad again. It was like the 9th time I've torn my quad, and I ripped it really down, nearly down to the bone. And I remembered like I was like, well, this is what can happen. Like, I've transitioned to like being a professional player or like a semi-pro. And I was just remember like, shit, like I have to be aware, like injuries are part of the game. It could end me. So taking that injury again, and I was meant to be out for 8 weeks or something. And I remember I was like, well, I don't want this journey to end, like, or I don't want this season to end, or I don't want them to like consider not signing me back next year. So I remember just having to like work even extra harder in the gym and physios, and just like putting yourself in a position to recover quicker, I would say. Like, so I'd say the drive of like not wanting the journey to end was always like, I want to be, this is my like job. So that was the element of it, I would say. So that, remember that setback of like the quad, kind of like, okay, like injuries are really part of this game. You got to understand to look after your body better and like take it easy. If you want to prolong it, like you want to get a contract for the following year, you don't want to be renowned for like having too many injuries. So I say that kind of came into play now after I took that big injury. And then yeah, that's really it. I've been very, very lucky, touch wood, that like that's been only my setback on injuries, I would say. And I'm trying to think. No, been very lucky, like very, very lucky.
As an individual, I think you've done an incredible lot as a rugby player, but it's your journey that inspires other people. Right at the beginning of this conversation, I mentioned you as a rugby player growing up. He was your inspiration. He was your role model. I think we all have them, don't we, to some degree? People often focus on the athletic development, and we've talked a little bit about the rugby, but personal growth can often be just as significant. So how has living and competing abroad changed you as a person?
Say massively. I would say that I've really had to lean on you have to find people you can kind of trust over here, and you have to find like people that are good for you and that can help you grow as a person. And you got to like choose your circle, I would say, or just have people around you that can help put you in the right directions maybe. So I've been very lucky, and I've been around, I would say, a lot of older individuals, and I was told that I have like old shoulders or a young head on old shoulders. So I remember my time in Canada, like I met Gillis, I met yourself, I met David Jackson. I met a few older rugby players, like, and they were always a bit more wiser. So like as a young guy, I kind of tended to follow the older boys and not the younger. Like I love to have the fun and etc. And I knew I could have the fun because I still had that age. But it was always nice to pick the brains of like the kind of the older generation and like how they see things and like they've grown up. So I would say that was always my element of, I was, like I said, a little bit naive off the field on some things, and like I would do things more out of emotions. And then I had to learn like you can't be as emotional. So I had a few people, and then I had like a lot of people like how to hold yourself. And I would say like Portugal has grown me in the most place at the moment, because I had a lot of like people come and go, and I've really caught on to one of my friends over here, and he's like really guided me a little bit more because he has really good life experiences. Like now he's married and he has a kid and his wife, and they were very, very nice. They're like my mom and dad over here. So I did really well over here getting like people that have a bit more experience and understanding, and like they understand the element, okay, you're still a kid, kind of like I'm not an adult. So like go have your phone, but also remember like this is your job. Like this is how you treat people. This is like respect. Like, but yeah. And then I would say like in Canada, I had like Gillis and Martin Lewis. So those two guys were like also very helpful and got me to understand a lot of things. And I had other people around me pushing me and telling me what to do, telling me what's right or wrong. So, and I had that in Ireland growing up, like my mom and my nan and stuff. So I would say like I always got caught onto older generation people, and just I stuck with them. And then I was a bit of a sponge with the older boys, like learning about more about life things, and it stuck to me now. So I would say like, but moving abroad was probably the best thing to do for myself personally. Like I remember being in Ireland, I was always such a little, love sports, except I had a great like whatever, but I was very immature, and I was very always like held grudges and fought against people, and I always had to be right. And sometimes I still think I am, but I'm not. But I would say like it really has shaped me in the past 4 or 5 years, like learning to be alone and understanding my own feelings and the mental side of things, and having to grow up. Like I didn't have my mom to do my cleaning or the cooking or the washing. Like there was none of that anymore. I had other people, and I had to adapt to them and like learn how to do everything by myself. Basically, I had the basic skills, but then I had to learn how to adapt them. And I would say that really does help you in the long term, because you're living alone and you have your own things to do, your own person. You got to realize you are you. So I would say in the past 4 or 5 years, I've really grown up. Yeah, and mentally I'm still not there, but I'm getting there, because still young, still make mistakes, and that's part of the game, part of life. Like you're meant to make mistakes, but you're meant to learn as well. So you can't be afraid to make mistakes. You have to make the mistakes, learn from it, see what you can do better. So I would say like definitely moving abroad was the best decision I made for myself to like grow as a human. Because in Ireland I always held grudges, I was always grumpy, I was always like fighting, and I was trying to play the victim card, and I wasn't ever taking any responsibilities. So then like moving abroad like totally changed my perspective on that outlook, and like I can't do that. You need to learn, you need to adapt, you need to understand responsibilities, mistakes, like kindness, like be whatever. So I would say definitely like it shapes you, because you have to learn how to be by yourself and shape yourself into the human that you want to be. So yeah, definitely it was like getting on a plane made me a different man now today, for sure. And I can see myself growing, so that's the best thing.
The growth in you as a human being is incredible, and it's a credit to yourself. And you've not just left home once. Leaving Ireland is home, and where you're familiar with family and friends and your support network. But leaving Nova Scotia, where you built up a network there, going to Spain and so on. You've done it multiple times, and you've had to adapt and overcome certain challenges along the way. But how have you felt that your self or your sense of identity has evolved since moving to Portugal? Where do you feel most at home today?
Truthfully, I feel at home in Portugal right now. Like I really feel settled. I've got a good, solid friends and the missus and everything. So it's like I have a little base there, and I've adapted really well to the culture. I've adapted to the lifestyle I have, because I know I have my job and stuff. So I'd say right now, Ireland's always going to be my home. I'm Irish born and bred, especially being away. Like I make it very clear that I'm Irish, like I do. But sometimes, like I know my home's there, but now I have to make my own little home. And I would definitely say right now, this is my home. I really, really love it here. So I'm really happy here. I still think there's a lot more opportunities for me to grow here. So that's why I think I'm excited to be here, and why I'm still enjoying it being here, because I have more to do, more to learn. So I would say my identity is really here. Here's my identity right now, and I'm enjoying it.
Looking back, do you think rugby has simply been just a profession, or has it become the vehicle that has helped you to become the person you've become today?
I would say it's made me the person I am today. Like, I've traveled and met so many people. Like, so without those people on the journey, without rugby, like, I would be still in Ireland. So, like, I've met yourself, I've met hundreds of people in Halifax, a couple of people, a good few people in Spain. Now I'm here in Portugal, and then people have come in left, right, and centre. And I think what's amazing about rugby is, like, rugby is a small community. No matter what in the world, we've all played against players, or we've seen players, or we know of players, like, even in the highest standard. So rugby's really shaped my life and my career, like, right now, for sure. Like, I always had a decision. People always ask me, why didn't you choose football? I just said, like, there was just always something about rugby. And I love, like, you could be anywhere in the world, and if they have a rugby club, you can knock in with a pair of boots and you can just say, hey, listen, can I have a run about? And you know yourself, like, you go have a run about, and then you go into the clubhouse afterwards. You might have killed each other, kicked the shit out of each other, and then you'll sit beside the man and have a pint, or have a chat or whatever, and you'll talk about stories or how you've met, where you are. So I think that's the thing about rugby is, like, there's so many different cultures in it, and there's so many different elements, but rugby's so, like, such a community space. Like, you can always do the same everywhere in the world. So that's why I think it's such a good sport to get involved in and to grow. So I definitely say, like, it's shaped myself massively till now, and I love the fact that it's my profession. Like, I've made my job my hobby, and that was always a thing I always wanted to do, and luckily I've achieved it, like, right now, and I'm doing well. Look, so we'll just keep the dice rolling, as I say. But it's massively just changed me. It's like the pinnacle of it is meeting so many new people, so many new cultures, and, like, life after rugby, I'm gonna have all these friends. You know, they're not gonna go away because you meet them through rugby. So, and it's been fun. The ones that want to stay, they'll stay. The ones that they want to go, they'll go. But I think we just always know each other. Like, how'd you meet him? Oh, rugby. You know, it's just such a little connection with rugby. It's just different. I always found rugby's always been different in that element. Like, and here I am on a podcast again. I met you through rugby. So it's just, that's the element that brings playing this sport. So that's why, yeah, I would say.
I think rugby, we talked before about it being a small community, but it's a family within a family. The circles are very small, and you get to meet people, know people, or communicate with people. It's incredible. Growing up, you looked at sports more generally, and then you decided on rugby. And success in rugby may have looked different when you was younger. So how has your definition of success changed through your journey so far? And what does success mean to you today?
Back then, I saw success was having to play for Leinster, and, like, having to be there, having to be the top dog in the country, and, like, having that type of career, and, like, being the top of the best of the best. So now I would say success is where you're happy and where you found your feet. Like, right now, are, like, appreciating what you've done in your career. Like, I know I'm not, like, a renowned famous rugby player, but, like, I'm having a career, and this is my career, and I've been very, very lucky. So for me right now, it's like, it's a success. I think I enjoy all the little things in life, and like, if it's 1 year doing, I was like, well, that's a success. I got a 1 year contract. I successfully did it. I always said, like, I'd have successful plans, and, like, it's how you want to perceive success. So, like, for me, that's a success. I've done 4 years here. That's a success for sure. That's like that's a win. And so that's how I see success now for me in my career, is like getting a contract, doing what I want to do, and completing it. So making sure I get to the end of the season, I've made my season, and I'm like, okay, I'm happy with my achievements, but I'm also happy with the team achievements. So that's what I would say how I perceive success is, like, the little things on how you're going forward in your career. So I'm like, it's a little career, even if it's an amateur career, you're jumping around, but it's what you want to do, and it's how you get to where you want, I would say. Like, so that was it for me. It's just like, I'm where I want to be. So I find that a success at the moment. It's not back in Ireland. Like, I thought I was never going to be successful. Like, I can tell you right now, I never thought I'd be here. And yeah, so going from being negative and saying, oh, well, I'm never going to have a career in rugby, like, oh, I'm playing like tier two nations, that's not a success. No, that's not how it works. It's like what you're doing in your career, in your life, that's a success. Like, I'm happy I can say that I'm playing rugby. So that's how I switched my mentality on that. It wasn't the end all be all there. It was, okay, I have to make little successes along the way to build my career. So that's how I would say that. Yeah.
I appreciate you sharing that. And I want to take this opportunity to say congratulations to you and your team, Benfica, on winning your competition. And Elliott getting the MVP of that game. It's incredible. And hats off to you and your teammates. How was that? How was that after?
After the game, yeah. Well, to be honest with you, there was a bit of an element in there. I was just so happy for the squad. I was just so happy for the whole year of like, we really worked for this. And there was always outside noises because Benfica is such a big club here. There's always like, they have the money, etc. Yeah, but like money doesn't win you championships. Like it can in some elements, but like rugby, I know rugby, like you can buy a squad, but if it just doesn't work, it doesn't work. So seeing like how we really all came together towards the end of and we had two setbacks, like the game previously, we threw away a 14-point lead. We could have won it within a day. So, and then like having the mentality to switch it, to have to go away to another team called Cascais and go, and like, we didn't win the game, but we knew we just had to go there and get the job done. And like seeing it on the final whistle was like phenomenal. Just seeing the emotions and like to bring history to the club was just phenomenal. So we're always going to be that team that brought back the title after 25 years. We're going to be in the cabinet. Like our names are always going to be there in Benfica history. So that was phenomenal, just to give back to the club, to win a championship, and the fashion we did it. So it was, I haven't really let it all sunk in. Like it's still been a bit of a like blur because it's been such a while. I got there 4 years ago, hadn't won anything. And then like to do it this year was fantastic with the players and the squad and the coaching that was involved. And like so much fun was had, and like the connections were built, and like just to see all of us so happy together for what we worked for and what we achieved. Like it was just, it was a different level. It was a different feeling because like this is my club now and this is my team. And like I had friends there like Miller, I played with Miller over in Nova Scotia and seen him in the Celtics. Like to win it with him, it was great. Then to win it with my other friend that has been 4 years, and we worked so hard to get there. It was just like such joys and such high emotions, and like, I'll never forget it. It's up there with one of my favorite rugby career moments for sure right now. So it was some season we had, and there was a little bit of tension and like what's going to happen, a little bit of eyes, and then we started getting into a rhythm. We started winning games, and then we started getting not cocky, but we started getting confident, and you could see, and then we started winning and winning and winning. And then it came to like, we're here, like we can actually do this. So like just to see that, like to know we could do it was brilliant. Like when we deserved it, like, and it's not every day you can say that, but like I truly believe we deserved it. Like we put up some scores, and we played so well as a team on the field. And we were fighting with each other and not, but like we worked so hard for that, and it was just so nice to see it actually come true, and to give back to the club is what's best. Like, so it was great. And getting MVP was even, I wasn't really expecting it. I know a lot of people were telling me I was going to get it, etc. But I couldn't have got it without the team, because like they let me play, they let me do whatever I wanted. So even though they wanted to kill me half the time, I was very erratic, I would say, doing a lot of crossfield kicks and trying stuff that they wouldn't want me to do. But yeah, it was just phenomenal, like just to get the backing from the boys. And then I was just glad I can put in some performances for them to get them over the line and get the tries that they needed in the right time. So yeah, it's a bit surreal. Like I'm still on the highs of it, so it's been great. Yeah.
Going through all those setbacks and adversities that you went through, achieving the success at the end is well deserved. That's off to you and your teammates. Another measure of that success is your own podcast, Bill and Mill. Do you want to touch on a little bit of that?
Yeah, we had a conversation previously. So yeah, myself, to be honest with you, when we made the podcast Bill and Mill, most people didn't understand who Bill was. So like I'm Bill, so everyone calls me Billy. So I got my nickname a couple of years ago. So I'm Billy and I'm Bill and this is Mill. And we were just sitting there on our couch together, and we were just chatting like every night. Myself and Mill would always have a catch up. We would always sit on the couch together. We'd watch a movie, but then we'd just be chatting. Like if Mill wanted to say something, then we would just reminisce on like the past. And he was just saying like, why don't we talk about this? Because in our position, a lot of people are doing this, like we're, as you said, like the grassroots of things. I'm not a professional player, but we're trying to get there. And my road is so windy, and his is like a little bit straighter because he's doing really well for himself. So it's great to see him doing that. But like my road is like windy, and like we just thought like we had advice for people that were like us trying to chase the dream, chase the ball. And like it was just a bit of crack, and like we talk shit anyway, so we were just like, we might as well just stick a camera in front of us and see what happens. And it was actually really good for us in the season as well. Like people were actually always interested. I thought we were going to get some slagging for it and like joking about it, but somehow it just seemed to do like, we got really good feedback and people were enjoying it, and we were just taking the piss most of the time, but at least it was truthful. Like we were always truthful, we were always trying to do it, and we're trying to explain our stories about like, this is what really happens in the semi-pro, or like if you're trying to get pro, like it's not going to be easy. Like you're going to have to go the long road, like not the short road. And now Mill's doing really well for himself as well. We haven't posted in ages. We've had a few like, where's the podcast? But things are just getting too busy. But it was really good mentally to do it. And it was just fun to chat about it and see our journeys and like connect in different ways. And we got a few big names on it, like Salim and Hayden. Like those guys have played very high, and we realized we had people around us that had played in such high levels. We wanted to get a few of the other foreigners on, but they were too nervous to do it with their English. Like we had some guys, but I think we're going to get back to it. I think we'll continue it. I think Mill's still up for it. He's a bit busy right now, so am I, but he's up for a bit of a sin bin on tour, so we'll see how it goes. I have to catch up with him, but it was funny just making a podcast.
That's great to hear, mate. And I'll make sure I put the link in the description box at the end of this episode. Looking back at your journey, and there's going to be people listening to this interested in what you've gone through and what it means. What advice would you give someone who, I'm thinking about doing the same thing and need to take that leap of faith, but is afraid to leave home and come out of that comfort zone? What advice would you give to them?
I would say like, you already have the skills. You know how to play rugby. That's the easy part. So back yourself, have the confidence when you're there, no matter what. And then always remember you have home. So it's like you have your base. It's stuck there. It's never going to move. So you literally have nothing to lose. Like the biggest risk is you fly out, you don't enjoy yourself, and then you fly back. But if you jump, you might as well keep jumping, jump, try the new foods, meet new people, try speak the language, do whatever you want. Like that's what I said before, is like, if you don't take the risk, like you'll never know what's on the other side. And the best thing is the risk is there to take, because you have base here, you have friends and family that can help you if you're really stuck in a matter of need. If you're feeling lonely, you can always call them. That's what technology is about. So I would just say, like, back yourself. You have the confidence. It's just, you just need to go. You need to just hop on the train and let it flow for a little bit, because you don't have much to lose. There isn't really that elements to much to lose, because you can always come home. So it's always like, just back yourself. You have the confidence, you have the skills, you know how to play rugby, use the skills you have and go and enjoy the new things in life. Use what you got. So it's worth it. Somehow you playing rugby pays the way, as I say. Like, so use the skill. Just go for it. Literally just go for it. Don't be afraid to be in your comfort zone. Sometimes it's fun, sometimes it's embarrassing, but more or less you don't want to be the guy that says in your comfort zone. Just enjoy the uncomfortableness. So it's fun.
When you look back on your own life and career, many years from now, when you're sat enjoying TV, having a cup of coffee, what do you hope leaving home will have given you that staying home wouldn't?
I would say, that's a good question. I would say experiences. Like, I'm not going to get these experiences again. Like, I'm well traveled, and the people I've met, the cultures I've met and seen, I would just say, like, I've just enjoyed. I would just love in the future to say to myself, like, wow, I had some experience. Like, I didn't waste time. I didn't waste myself. I didn't waste my abilities. I just had all these fun experiences, even if it's the bad experiences, the terrible experiences, but I had those experiences. Like, life's about experience. You can always keep doing the same thing. That's no problem. But if there's a chance to try something different, try it. So I would say, like, when I sit down, if I'm ever an old man, 60, 70, playing golf in a golf club and I have a cigar and a whiskey, I would love to just like, if someone asked me, oh, what did you do? I was like, oh, I traveled a couple of countries. I met all these different nationalities. I met these different people. So I would just love to say, oh, well, I've experienced. That's what I would say.
Elliott, thank you very much for joining me today and sharing your experiences, insights about yourself and your journey that you've been on, and continue to experience as you experience your time in Portugal and whatever happens in the future. I think one of the biggest takeaways from today's conversation is that growth rarely happens when we stay where it's comfortable, whether it's moving countries, changing careers, stepping into a new environment, or simply challenging ourselves to become better versions of who we are. Meaningful growth often begins when willingness to embrace uncertainty. To everyone listening, thank you for joining us for another episode of Trauma, Training and Transformation, where we explore how movement heals the mind. If you enjoyed today's conversation, take a moment to follow, subscribe, give a review, and share this episode with someone that you believe will benefit from listening to it. You can find this podcast on Spotify, Apple, Amazon Music, or wherever you find your podcasts. You can find this on my YouTube channel, James Alder 003. I also produce Substacks newsletter each week that supports and complements this podcast. You can find all the links in the description box below. Sometimes the most important journey is not the distance you travel across the world, but the distance you travel within yourself. The courage to leave what is familiar often reveals who we truly are and what we're capable of becoming. So until next time, keep moving, keep growing, and remember that transformation often begins where comfort ends. See you on the next one.